to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd. And wow, what a way for Philadelphia Union to start the 2024 season with a 3-2 victory down in Saprissa, down in Costa Rica. Only the third MLS team to beat Saprissa at home. Union have done it twice, the other team being the Columbus Crew back in 2009, I believe it was. And that's not an easy task whatsoever. And of course, we all remember what happened 3 years ago. The Union win that game 1-0. Blanco takes out. Kai Wagner only gets a yellow card. And so these two teams coming into this match had history. But the one deciding factor was the stadium wasn't packed, because 3 years ago, it's when nobody knew much about COVID. The stadiums weren't at full capacity. And so the big difference the Union were going to face this night coming into Saprissa was that atmosphere. And you heard it on the broadcast early on when they're singing the anthem. The fans are getting into it. You see videos on social media of just the fans being energetic before the match. The fans created a fantastic atmosphere for this game. And you wondered, how would the Union fare going into enemy territory, a country, a stadium that's louder, more intense than anything here in MLS? And you see early on in this game, and we'll get all the bad out of the way before we get on to the good of the match. The Jakob Glesnes own goal, Jose Martinez not having his best night. And we can start with Jose Martinez. The first 20 minutes in this game, the Union honestly should have been down. They should have been losing this game 2-0, and they're very fortunate that they weren't. You have horrible defending by Jose Martinez on two set pieces. The first chance on the set piece that Saprissa had, you have Martinez let the ball bounce awkwardly in front of him, and Saprissa are then able to first react to this ball. And fortunately for the Union, Saprissa put this just over the bar. But it's like, on set pieces, one, you should never let that ball come across your box. You've got to clear that out. And we've talked about this so many times on the podcast. Last year when we were doing our goal breakdown videos. And don't worry, they're definitely going to be coming back for this upcoming MLS season. I can't wait to go over those videos with you guys, going over what I see, maybe what you guys didn't see in the stadiums. But the Union, we talked about it. They always play a mix of a zonal and hybrid marking. And so you're always going to play your best attackers of the ball, your best defenders in the zonal spots. They're going to have a certain area in that 6-yard box where they're going to guard. And that's usually your center backs. And then everybody else is just man marking following your guy. Well, the ball just skips awkwardly past Damian Lowe, winds up with Jose Martinez, and he tries to maybe chest this ball down, maybe tries to do one of his acrobatic clearances that we come to know and love the last couple seasons with Jose. And that just cannot happen. You've got to clear this away. If you send it out for another corner kick, so be it. You can't play with the ball. You can't attempt to play with the ball inside of your own box. It's asking for trouble. And then on the next play, you have Jose Martinez losing his man on the corner kick. It's a free header on the back post, and you cannot ball watch. You've got to be aware. And it was two times that Jose Martinez is man marking, and he loses his guy both times. And Yes, it's the first game of the season. Yes, in the first half, it was very, very sloppy, especially in that midfield. But the one thing that you don't want to happen is you don't want to concede off of set pieces. You want to be focused on those set pieces, whether it's you're attacking them or defending them. And Jose Martinez, a little bit lapse of judgment. And very, very fortunate because this game, even though the Union win it 3-2, this game could have went completely different. If the Union are down 2-0 within the first 20 minutes, Saprissa can then sit back and force the Union to go at them. And I do want to bring this up real quick. Shout out to Jim Curtin. He deserves a lot of credit for not sitting deep, for not parking the bus, which a lot of teams are going to do in an environment like this. They're going to not take the game to you. And that's not what Jim Curtin had the Union sign up for in the first half, in this game in general. Saprissa were letting the Union possess the ball. The Union couldn't get anything going in the midfield. It was really, really sloppy. Only 2 shots in the first half. None of those shots on target. Quinn Sullivan with one of those shots, and I think he actually had the first shot, and a couple people texted me like, oh, that's wasteful. That's wasteful. Why would you shoot outside the 18-yard box if you're Quinn Sullivan right there? But I would argue that was the right decision because the Union had nothing going. No shots. No nothing. Didn't test the keeper. And the back line of Saprissa, the goalkeeper, he's feeling good about himself that he's not getting tested. And I think it was the right opportunity there by Quinn Sullivan to, take a shot from outside the box. You saw the midfield for Sullivan, Gazag, Martinez, and McGlynn. Not really sure who should be tracking what runner. I thought Saprissa caused a lot of issues with their wingers and Hernandez and Diaz, and that put a lot of pressure on Nate Harriel and Kai Wagner because the midfielders aren't tracking those guys. The 2 center forwards for Saprissa were making really good runs into the box and causing issues for Jakob Glesnes and Damian Lowe. So a lot of chaos there with the midfield not knowing who to track. The 2 wingers really applying a lot of pressure on Wagner and Nate Harriel. And then just good movement from the 2 strikers for Saprissa. But to the Union's credit, in the second half, they adjust it. And we'll play a clip here in a second about Jim Curtin, about exactly what that adjustment was. But I just wanted to make it known that this game could have been very differently. Do the Union get 3 goals in the second half if they're down by 2 goals? It's hard to say because obviously it didn't happen. But your mentality really gets tested right there. Of course, your mentality is going to get tested before this game. You hear the fans. Made a terrific atmosphere, like I said. But if you go down 2-0 within the first 20 minutes, where's your headspace at? Do you believe that you're still in this game? Because, of course, you get 1 away goal, then you feel like you're right back in it. But, man, I think that really would have destroyed the Union. I think they know that they were very fortunate not to concede off of those set pieces. So, not the best night from Jose Martinez, defensively defending those 2 corner kicks. And then I thought he was just way too casual on the ball. A lot of turnovers from Jose Martinez, took his time, and to Saprissa's credit again, they put the pressure on him. They put the pressure on the other midfielders in the first half of the Union. They were right there. As soon as they would touch the ball, bam, put the pressure on, forced a bad pass. And maybe that caught the Union off guard a little bit about the pressure that Saprissa was going to apply. And I don't want to make excuses while the Union were coming out of preseason, haven't played a professional game yet this season, while Saprissa played 7 or 8 coming into this match. And so, of course, they know the intensity they need to bring. And I think maybe the Union were a little bit caught off guard. And you saw it with the passes, just mispass after mispass, getting the ball stolen off of the foot way too many times. And to the credit, Jim Curtin says this all the time. And I know for a fact we're going to be saying this saying all the time, as long as you don't break, you'll be fine. You might bend a little bit, but as long as you don't break, then you're in it. You're still in the game. And I think that's exactly what happened here. The Union, they bended a lot. But they go into the half only down by 1. And they have the perfect response in the second half. And we'll get to all the positives here in a second. But yeah, not the greatest night for Jose Martinez. And then Jakob Glenses. We're talking about the own goal for a second. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's one of those fluke things. It happened. Does the wind, does the rain play an effect on that? Maybe a little bit. Andre Blake definitely could have done better on that. Why he flops at the ball, throws himself at the ball. Maybe he should have had better positioning there. Maybe the wind throws him off. I mean, you got to imagine that's a play that between those two guys, that shouldn't be happening. That they probably do it a lot in practice. And it's a hell of a goal by Jakob Glesnes, which, by the way, that's back-to-back seasons now that he scored the first goal of the season for the Union. Remember, he did it against Columbus in the home opener, and now he's done it against Saprissa in the first game of the season. Hopefully, it doesn't happen Saturday night against Chicago. But that's just, one of those freak things. I think Saprissa deserved it. Don't get me wrong, because they had those 2 beautiful chances off of the set pieces. But to get the lead off of something that fluky, you feel bad for Jakob Glesnes, number one. You feel bad for Blake. And those are the type of plays that show up on highlight reels saying, oh, this is MLS. This is the quality over in North America. This is what typically happens. Look, they don't know how to play soccer. They don't know anything about soccer. I think that's the only bad thing about this play is the negativity that the Euro snobs would have with this play. But let's not forget that Liverpool a couple weeks ago had an issue with Alisson, and it's a complete blunder out of the back by Alisson. And oh my gosh, nobody's saying anything about that because that's the Premier League, that's Liverpool. But this does happen in other leagues. This does happen in the top leagues. And there's nothing else to really say other than, yeah, it's unfortunate. Wanted to bring it up because I'm sure people would be like, well, why didn't you bring up the Jakob Glesnes own goal? It is what it is. Saprissa definitely deserved a goal in the first half. Maybe not that way. But you can't sit here and say, oh, no, they didn't deserve that. They absolutely did deserve that. And it very much could have been 2-0 to Saprissa in the first half. And again, just credit to the Union for not really giving Saprissa too many opportunities. But that own goal. But on to the positive stuff. Nothing else too much to nitpick about. Jim Curtin's going to say, they weren't at the best in this game. A lot of mistakes and whatnot. And of course, you don't expect the Union to be perfect in game 1, the first game of the season. The one thing I do find interesting is Jim Curtin said this a lot the last couple of years where, yeah, defensively, that's one of the first things that click. It's getting the offense rolling, which takes some time. And it was the complete opposite on the night. The offense breaks out with 3 goals. And granted, it's funny to say because in the first half, that wasn't the case for the Union. Only 2 shots, like I mentioned. And I know it's easy to say that, well, yeah, because they scored 3 goals. That's why you're saying the offense clicked. But even if they wouldn't have got those goals. You saw the movement was better. And a big part of that was because of Quinn Sullivan. And another big reason was the Union were too stretched in the first half compared to the second half. And that's exactly what Jim Curtin brought up after the game.
Yeah, look, Matt, I thought he had, like a lot of guys in the first half, we were disjointed, and it's credit to Saprissa for making it very hard on us and pressing us. And we were a little bit stretched. So we were almost 60 to 65 yards from front to back, and we're not built to play like that. So we got it a lot more compact in the second half. 30 to 35 yards is where we like to be. And Quinn really came into the game, I thought, in the second half. Look, he's still 19 years old. We played two guys on the side of the diamond in a CONCACAF Champions League that are 19, and I thought they did a really good job. But certainly Quinn came into the second half with a lot more actions, a couple of really good balls that I think could have been goals on the night if others would have finished. But overall, a positive step for Quinn, a big night for him. I thought Jakob Glenses was solid as well. So some good performances, some ones we need to clean up for sure, and overall a good victory in our first game.
Yeah, it was a great victory. You see the offense break out, and the point that Jim Curtin brings up about the first half, 65 yards. The team's not built that way, and so they made things a lot more compactful. Is that a word, compactful? Probably not. But they made the midfield a lot more compact in the second half, where they can play these easy, simple passes that probably aren't going to do anything to break Saprissa down. But it's enough to get your confidence flowing. All right, we don't have to hit long ball after long ball. We don't have to go end to end. We can build through the midfield. And a big part of that was because of Quinn Sullivan. I talked about how it was disjointed in the first half between the midfield. Couldn't get any of the midfielders going. Gaza pretty non-existent in the first half. Quinn Sullivan non-existent. And so they make things simpler. Let's make the field smaller. Let's get on the ball. And then we'll work from there. And a big reason was because of the movement from Quinn Sullivan, from Daniel Gazdag. And this is exactly why Jim Curtin's talked about playing with 2 10s. This is why he said last year, well, with Joaquin Torres, we can play with another 10. It's because of that movement that 2 10s bring you. And we saw this in the second half. Quinn Sullivan would drop out of the hole, go out wide. And so that allows space to open up in the midfield, whether it be Carranza, whether it be Daniel Gazdag running into that space. Daniel Gazdag leaves the space in the middle, goes out wide. Now more players can just drift into that space because you're going to drag players with you. And Saprissa know it. The Union want to get their dangerous players on the ball. And Quinn Sullivan, make no mistake about it, is a dangerous player. You saw that last night. He caused a lot of chaos for Saprissa in the second half of this match with his energy, with his movement off the ball. There's a reason why Daniel Gazdag had 47 touches in this game. It's a reason why Quinn Sullivan had 33 touches. The Union wanted to get their best players on the ball. Jakob Glenses, 63 touches. You get your better players on the ball, they're going to open things up with their passes. Their movement was great. And that's stuff that's not going to show up on the stat sheet. And I was talking to Kyle Almany about this. No better example of the movement than the chance that Mikhail Uhre had that he should have finished. And he doesn't. And the dude can't buy a goal. You feel for Mikhail Uhre. It's a perfect opportunity for him to put the ball in the back of the net. Goalie comes up with an easy save. But Quinn Sullivan goes out wide, allows Julian Carranza to drop into the midfield, collect on the ball, and now you have Mikhail Uhre running in behind, splitting the center backs because the one center back's following Julian Carranza in the midfield. Julian Carranza is able to find the run of Mikel Ua, and Mikel's got to finish that chance. But that starts because of the movement from Quinn Sullivan, from Daniel Gazdag. And going back to the point of Jim saying, well, we could play with 2 10s, a 4-3-2-1. It's because of the movement that Daniel Gazdag brings, of Quinn Sullivan brings. Theoretically, what Joaquin Torres should have brought last year. And the idea of it sounds good, right? But you got to execute it. And the Union didn't execute that in the first half. They're playing way too long. They make the field narrow. And they play to their strengths. You get your playmakers on the ball. You're always moving for each other. And you're going to open up space. And I'm not trying to get too excited after one game. It's never been a question of, is Quinn Sullivan talented? Because everybody knows he's talented. That's why they signed him out of the academy. It's where do you play him? The Union don't play with wingers. And again, going back to that point where I said the movement from Quinn Sullivan going out wide, he's a natural winger, and so he wants to drift out wide. He wants to create that space. And I completely forgot the point that I'm trying to make. But the space that Quinn created was fantastic. And the point that I was making was, should Quinn Sullivan start on the right side of the field? It wasn't a question, is this guy talented? It's where you get him on the field. And we saw him playing as a right shuttler. And I thought in the second half, especially when Mikel Ua came out, the Union switched to a little bit of a 4-2-3-1. You sit Bedoya a little bit deeper next to Jesus Bueno because Martinez came out too. Don't forget about that. And you allow Quinn Sullivan to play out wide, which is where winger is going to play. And that is where Quinn Sullivan should play. That's where he should occupy the space, is out wide, not as a striker, not centrally. And you even saw this from Bedoya too. A lot of space opened up on the right side of the field for the Union in the second half when Bedoya came in. A lot of great passes in by Bedoya. Good passes in by Sullivan. A lot of space there on the left-hand side of the defense for Saprissa. And I do wonder, do you guys think that after one game, should Quinn Sullivan be the starter going forward as that right shuttler? Yes, he's not a natural center midfielder, but I think he looks a lot better there on the right-hand side than playing centrally, whether it be as a striker or as a 10. And I don't want to hype up Quinn Sullivan after one game, but there's a lot to get excited for because of what he brought you with his movement. And that pass that he had into Daniel Gazdag for Carranza's second goal. It's a great through ball. It's a great weighted pass. Good movement by Daniel Gazdag. And there's a reason why Jim Curtin kept saying all preseason that Quinn Sullivan was one of the 3 best players all preseason. And we saw it on the night. And it's hard for me to say, yeah, Quinn's the solidified starter, because I think Jesus Bueno played well enough where he should be in that conversation. I think Bedoya, I said it last episode, was a top 5 chance creator for this Union team. But having options at that right midfielder spot, it's not the worst thing in the world. And the third goal that the Union score all comes from the hustle of Quinn Sullivan. And I wouldn't mind seeing Quinn start against Chicago. I wouldn't mind seeing him start in the second leg against Saprissa. I think the more we get Quinn Sullivan going like this, he's going to lock down this spot. And nothing against Jesus Bueno. He did fine last year in the League's Cup playing as that right shoulder. But he's not as attacking as Quinn Sullivan. He's not as creative as Quinn Sullivan. And I think if Quinn can continue to put performances up like this, he's going to solidify that starting spot on the right-hand side of the field. Just like Jack McGlynn, when Liam Flock comes back, that's Jack McGlynn's spot to lose. We saw Nate Harriel beat out Bizo for the right back spot, in my opinion, because of his play last season. And isn't that interesting, right? 3 homegrown players on the night. In McGlynn, Sullivan, and Harriel. These guys came through the academy together, all signed homegrown deals at the same time. And all 3 of those guys had big nights. A really good night there by Quinn Sullivan. And the last thing I want to bring up is the performance by Julian Carranza. Of course, you got to bring this up. Scoring a hat trick. Jim Curtin was asked after the game, are you cherishing the moment still having Julian Carranza still be on this team where everybody expected him to be gone in the wintertime?
It's a special night for him. He's a pure goal scorer in that all he wants to do, all he thinks about is hitting the back of the net. He does a lot of the dirty work for the team as well, with his pressing and defensive work. But when you score goals in the big games, and this was a big game tonight, the world is watching, and anytime you have a night like this, I'll just say a lot of scouts and eyes are on him. So I hope this is just the beginning for him this season. Look, it's our first game. We have a lot we can improve on. It was not our best night. I was impressed with our fitness. I thought as the game went on, we actually got stronger. That surprised me a little bit. I thought that they would have a big advantage in the fitness side of things, having this be our first game. But I thought we held up pretty good athletically and physically. And Julian really led the line well for us tonight and scored 3 really good goals.
Yeah, and they were outstanding goals. To score a hat trick in your very first game of the season. And I brought this up last episode because, it is a real possibility that the Union don't get anything for Julian Carranza. He could leave for free in the wintertime. And some teams are like, why would we pay a transfer fee in the summertime when in 6 months we don't have to pay the Union anything? But I can guarantee you, if Julian Carranza stays red hot like he is right now, because don't forget, scored a couple goals in preseason. So coming into this game, it wasn't like he was ice cold. And yes, I know it's preseason, but he found the back of the net 2 times in the preseason. And I do believe, what you did in the preseason is going to carry over at the start of the regular season. And Julian Carranza joked in a video that the Union posted after the game where he said him and Paulie Rushing were joking about Carranza scoring a hat trick in this game. And Carranza told Paulie, yeah, I'm going to score a hat trick this game. And Paulie reminded him after the game, he's like, you caught it. You said you were going to score a hat trick. And yeah, sure enough, you did. But if Carranza continues to score, look, I don't care that he's going to have 6 months left on his contract in the summertime. A team will pay for Julian Carranza. Maybe a bidding war starts. Maybe there's multiple teams that Julian Carranza is willing to go to. And these teams are afraid that they might not be able to get Julian Carranza because he wants to go to X team. All right, well, let's entice the Union. Here's $2 million for Julian Carranza. And yes, Julian's open to come to our team. We want him now. We won't wait. Here's money. Maybe it starts a bidding war. Maybe that other team that was figuring we'll get him for free in their wintertime. All right, we'll up this by $2.5 million. And I know it sounds crazy, but when you have a striker that's red hot, that's a proven goal scorer, teams will pay. And we saw that this past winter. Mance, Werder Bremen, and Ipswich all came in for Julian Carranza. Union accepted all those offers, and Julian turned it down, which is his right. It is absolutely his right to turn down those offers. He's hoping that bigger clubs come in, and a performance like that, Jim said, people are watching. Scouts are watching. Big moments, big games like this against Saprissa, an international tournament. This is a competition where you can become the hero, where you can really make a name for yourself. And the movement, again, not to beat a dead horse, but the movement by Daniel Gazak, by Quinn Sullivan in the second half, Julian Carranza, the passing, the quick passing, the quick transitions. That's where the Union are at their best. And a lot of it starts with Julian Carranza too. A lot of it starts with Julian. Don't forget that first goal that the Union scored. If you go back and watch it with a cross by Kai Wagner, by the way, inch perfect cross. Couldn't have played a better ball in. And I'm going to repeat myself, fair warning to you guys, a lot of times this season and say, I don't know how Kai Wagner is still in MLS. He needs to be playing in Europe. How top teams, top leagues did not want Kai Wagner. It's going to blow my mind. And Kai Wagner showed it on a night like last night that, yeah, there's a reason why he's one of the best left backs in MLS, if not the best. One of the best left backs in this continent. Beautiful cross. Defensively, he's good. He's good. The run by Julian Carranza from the 18-yard box, nobody tracks him. Kai Wagner knows exactly where to play this ball. Julian Carranza knows exactly where to meet the ball. And it's his movement. Yes, of course, like when you analyze strikers, you analyze them scoring goals. But the pressing that Julian Carranza does. I mean, we saw in the first 5 minutes of this game, Julian Carranza coming all the way back to the defensive half of the Union, try to win this ball back. How many strikers in the world are going to do that? Not many. And I think, and I was talking to my buddy Jim, he's a Tottenham Hotspur fan over in England. I said, dude, I know you've not seen a ton of Union games. I know you're just watching the highlights, but watching the way that Tottenham play, how they need a striker, the way that Julian Carranza plays, I think Julian Carranza would be fantastic in Ange's system over there at Tottenham. I really do. A striker that's going to work hard, because what does Son do? He works hard. He presses off the ball. You add another player that's an attack-minded player that's going to drop back, make it hard on those defenders. The press. That's attractive to teams. And again, it's another thing that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. But I think Julian's destined to do big things in Europe. He's destined to do big things this season, I think, for the Union. He's motivated to go to Europe. He wants to go to Europe. He's not shied away from that. And if Julian Carranza was trying to make a statement to the big clubs in Europe, then he did exactly that last night against Saprissa. And my biggest fear is once Carranza leaves, the Union will never be able to replace him. They'll never pay the money what it costs Miami to get Julian Carranza in. $6 million, I think it was. Yeah, the Union won't pay that. And of course, there's other Julian Carranzas out there. That's not an issue. Finding a player exactly like Julian Carranza, that's not the issue. The issue is paying to get a player like Julian Carranza. And I'll always remember, and this is a credit to the Inter Miami fans, when it was announced the Union were making the trade for Julian Carranza, people were like, oh, this guy doesn't score. How can you want a striker that doesn't score? Well, little did fans know, credit to Ernst Tanner. He knew exactly what he was getting in Julian Carranza. And those Inter Miami fans, they said, you're getting a striker that works hard off the ball. He's going to press the hell out of you. And I'm so glad that Julian hasn't lost that in his game. He gets put into a better team, a better system than he was in Miami, and the goals start coming. And he's never forgot who he is. I'm a striker that's going to press. I'm going to make it hard on those defenders, those center backs. I'm going to track back into defense and win back the ball. I'm not going to let them have this easily. And man, finding a player like that, that's a natural goal scorer, that's going to press, that's a playmaker. They're out there, but the Union won't pay to get them. And so it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt when Julian Carranza leaves. But what a game, what a performance by the Union. A really, really great way to start the season. And my plan is to give you guys another episode this week, hopefully. Depending on when Jim Curtin's press conference is this week, I want to play some clips from that and get you guys excited for the Chicago Fire game. But if the press conference is on Friday, then there's no sense of me uploading that podcast, in my opinion, the day of the game. But maybe you guys feel differently. So, I mean, if the press conference is on Friday, do you guys want me to record like a 15, 20-minute episode for you guys to listen to as you head to Subaru Park on Saturday for the home opener? If not, then you guys have this episode to hold you over. But if you guys aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow @FreeKickPod, wherever you get your podcasts, The Free Kick. Check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/FreeKickPod. And yeah, I'm super excited for this season. I'm super excited for what the Union could have in store for us. And I hope you guys are too. I was looking at ticket prices for this game against Chicago. Man, tickets are going for as low as $8 on SeatGeek. Come on, people. Don't sell your tickets. I know it's going to be cold. But after a performance like that against Saprissa, these guys deserve a packed, loud environment in their very first game back to Subaru Park. Like, be excited. Nobody was expecting Bedoya back, Kai Wagner, Carranza. Go back to Subaru Park and give them the loudest cheer that they're back with your Philadelphia Union to start the 2024 season. So excited for the season. So excited to meet a lot of you guys that listen to the podcast. Just say thank you for all the support you guys have given me over the years, the engagement. Really looking forward to meeting a lot of you guys this season, and we'd love to start this Saturday. But until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.